Hi guys, we are busy with physics, and this is the last chapter with Newton's laws. Newton had a first, a second, and a third law, but he also postulated a law of universal gravitation. Now, I'll go to the universal just now, and gravitation we've touched on when we did vertical forces. Let's see what Newton actually did. He sat under a tree, that's the story, and he thought, why will apples fall down? Why don't they go up? And that was the kind of thoughts that made him think. So he formulated his law, and because the apples fall down to earth, he then postulated that there's an attraction not just between earth and the apple, but also between any object with another object. So if you've got a mass and another mass, they will be attracting each other. Yes, we are attracted to each other as people. Other than that, the earth is also attracting us. So we are walking on earth, and there we've got an attraction force. It's universal. It's exactly the same in the whole universe. What does that mean? Not just in the atmosphere of Earth, it's also in space. So we've got all the space bodies, the planets, the stars, the meteorites moving, and they all have this attraction force. Now, last question. Can we see this force? No, we cannot see this force, but we can see the effect of this force. We can drop things and see that it's falling down, and then we know that force exists. So, how did Newton come to this? We just covered that. He saw it was an attraction force. He then worked out the dimensions and proportions, and he then came more or less the same as he did with his second law. He said each object or particle or body attracts another object, particle, or body with a force. So we now know there's an attraction force. Remember, we've got two types of forces, an attraction force and a repelling force. So this is an attraction force, not just an attraction force between bodies, but directly proportional to the product. That means the mass 1 times mass 2 of their masses. So he actually went about and said, good, I've got the relationship between the masses and the force. He finally said, right, it's also inversely proportional. Remember what we did in Newton 2. Go back to that slideshow if you want to have a look at that lesson. To the square of the distance between the centers. And we'll go to that just now. Let me tell you, this is also a force, so it's measured in Newton. And it's an attraction force and non-contact, meaning you don't need to touch the ground to feel the force. You can just be standing up and dropping something down, or an apple falling down. It's non-contact. Let's quickly put this into some equations and dimensions. So the larger the mass, the larger the gravitational force. Therefore, we can say the force of gravitation, or G, it doesn't really matter, is directly proportional to the product of the two masses. Remember, we did something like this when we did Newton's second law. Secondly, he said it is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. And it's between their centers. So if I've got that center there and that center there, the smaller the distance, the larger the force. So it's inversely proportional. So the force is inversely proportional, not just the distance, but the square of the distance. Now, we've got the force is directly proportional to the two masses. We also know that the force is inversely proportional to the square of the distances between the midpoints. You have to have all those terms in your definition. If I now add them together, I can say the FG is thus proportional to the masses, the product, and the distance between. And if I want to take that sign, the proportional sign, away, I can substitute that by adding a constant. And we are using the universal gravity constant, which I'll explain to you just now. So we've got the force, the gravitational force is the two masses multiplied together, divided by the square of the distance, and divided by g. Now let's just quickly have a look at this g. We call that the universal gravitation constant. It's got a value, and you'll be able to see the value on your information sheet. Remember, get acquainted with your information sheet. Always work with it when you do your homework. Work with it when you do your calculations, so you don't waste a lot of time when you're doing these calculations in the exam. So what's the value? He calculated the value to be 6.7 times 10 to the power of minus 11. And then he could equate the masses and the radius and the distances with each other. So that's the value you will be given in the exam. Let's quickly have a look at the units. Now the G has got a unit of Newton times meter square times the kilograms minus 2. Now let us substitute that into our equation. If I've got G there as Newton meter square kilogram minus 2, remember that signifies that G. I also in that same equation have the one mass, which is kilogram, the other mass, which is kilogram, and at the bottom, meters square. Now I'm quickly going to write it down so that you can see what we get when we multiply these together. I'm multiplying that kilogram with that one, so I'm getting kilogram square. At the bottom, I've got meter square. And can you see what's happening now? I am cancelling that, and I've got a plus 2 here and a minus 2, which cancels that as well. So I'm sitting with a Newton, and that was the unit for the force. So it's very clever. Remember that you have got the unit on your information sheet with the value, and you are going to use that in your calculations. Let's go and do a calculation. Two objects of 4 kilograms and 6 kilograms are placed with the midpoints at 5 meter. Right? What will the gravitational attractive force be is the question. Let's jump in. We write down our equation, which is G, the mass of the one, mass of the second one, over the distance between their midpoints. Then we substitute 6.7 times 10 to the minus 11. Remember the value that you got on your information sheet. The first mass is 4, the second one 6, and the distance between them is then 5. Guys, please remember the square. Otherwise, you are going to make a mistake. The answer will be, and if you work with me, you will find the answer to be 6.432 times 10 to the minus 11 Newton. That will be the gravitational force between a mass of 4 and 6 at a distance 5 from each other. Make sure that you work accurately and get the correct answer. Another example, and they are very, very inclined to ask these questions in the exams. And now you've got to make use of ratios. So make sure that you understand how we do it. They asked you here, what is happening to the force F if one mass is doubled? One mass is halved. So here I've got one mass becoming 2m. one mass becoming a half a m. The distance between the center is doubled. So at the bottom, I've got the distance as 2 now. And both masses are doubled. So I've got 2m times 2m, and the distance is halved. Remember the half. So make sure that you've got all the relations, and then we can do this calculation. Now let's go back. The force between two objects is F. So they're giving me F is G m1 m2 over r square, and let's say that's equation 1. They're asking me to work out the force, so it's F, the new force, let's say X, if one of the masses is doubled. So let's put that in there, and I'm going to double mass 2. And it seems like they're keeping the distance like that. Let us now write the equation, and you're going to see why I'm doing it in different colors. Can you see that remains the same? Times, what did I add here? 2. This is equation 2. I can then substitute that with F, which I found there, times 2. And what would my answer be? What's the forces? What is the force when I double one mass? It will be 2F. Can you see what I found here? Let's do the other one. They said, what will happen if the one mass is halved? So let's quickly take this away and see what we can do to find another second equation. Again, I'm going to use the first equation, which said I've got the F, which is that value there. I'm now going to halve one of the masses. So I'm going to halve mass 2. Can you see what we're doing now? Exactly what we did previously. Mass 1, mass 2 times. Bear in mind, what did you change at the top? I put in a half, and at the bottom it stayed r squared. Again, I can substitute that into equation 2. That will give me a value of F. And what did I add? A half. So what will my answer be? The force, if I halved one of the masses, will be a half F. What did I do? Firstly, I wrote down the original equation. I said F is G m1 m2 over r squared. That was given to me, and that is equation 1. Then I wrote down the new equation. I added the 2, or I added the half, and then I substituted it in equation 2. So you've got equation 1, you've got equation 2, then you substitute the 1 into the new equation, 1 into 2, and you find your new value. Let's do the other two questions. What will the force be if the distance between the centers is doubled? Now, step 1. Force is G m1 m2 r square. Remember the square? That's equation 1. They want to know what will happen to X if the centers is doubled. So the mass stays the same, but the centers will be doubled. Now look at this. You have to be able to remember it's both of them in the square. And that's equation 2. So let's refine that one. It says Fx is, I'm going to write that in this color so that you can see the resemblance. And what did I change? I put in a 2 square. So what I have here is 1 over 2 square, and you know that would be a quarter. And this is number 1, equation 1. So what happened to the force? It is a quarter of the initial force. Now let's just think. A quarter force, it's going further away. Yes, so the force will be weaker. It's further away from each other. Right, let's do the last one. What will the new force be if both the masses are doubled and the distance is halved? Again, Fg is Gm1 m2 over r square, equation 1. Now I'm changing some of the ratios. What's the new x? If both masses are doubled, I'm not changing G, I'm changing mass 1, I'm changing mass 2, and I'm halving the distance. And guys, remember the square. I now finalize my answer by taking everything out that I had times. What did I change? What's the dimensions that change? 2 times 2, which gives me 4. A half square would be a quarter. Now it's math. 4 over a quarter. I've got to times that with 4 to get that away, times that by 4, which means my answer will be 4 times 4, 16F. So if I double the masses and I halve the distance, I'm bringing them nearer and I'm making them larger. The answer will be 16F. You will always be confronted with one of those. They usually ask it in multiple choice. So make sure that you can do it. It's not that difficult. Remember, you've got simultaneous equations. Right, that was the questions on the ratio that's changing. Let me just quickly show to you. You also have a gravitational field because it's extending from the center of Earth. More so, you did this in the previous sections on magnetic fields. Remember, you've done this in previous years, that a magnet there will experience a force. The magnet has got this field around it, and you can see the shape. When you do electrostatics, you'll also find that between a positive and a negative charge, you've got an electric field. And exactly the same you'll find with gravitation. The question is, what is a gravitational field? A gravitational field is the gravitational force acting on a unit of mass. So we know it's the force acting on a unit of mass. So make sure that you know the definition for gravitational force. To summarize, there's a difference between mass. Remember, we used it just now. That's mass and weight. Weight could also be the gravitational force. Why am I saying that? Because it's the Earth attraction to an object. Firstly, the definitions. Mass is the matter. How much matter do you have? If you have a big mass, you've got lots of matter. If you've got a small ball, it's got small matter. If you've got a rugby or a soccer ball, it's got more matter. Can you see the relation? It's depending on the matter. What is mass? It is a scalar. Remember, the difference in direction doesn't really interfere with mass. If you're sitting on a chair, if you're walking, if you are jumping in the air, you will have exactly the same matter. The formula to calculate mass will be or the substitution will be m, and the unit will be in kilogram. Make sure that you know it's not grams, it's not tons, it's kilogram. The other unit that we have to know is weight. Weight is the gravitational force between an object and Earth, specifically Earth. Remember, the definition will be, it is always the force of the Earth. Remember, downward. It is a vector. I know it is always downward. You remember we put that arrow. The formula will be the force will be force. You can work it out with m times g. Can you remember g? It was 9.8. Newton actually got to that value, and that unit will be Newton. Make sure that you know that mass is a scalar and weight is a vector, and that they have got definite differences. What is something that's weightlessness? Well, I'd like to be weightlessness, but it only happens if you are very far from Earth. If you go up in a capsule and you go to the moon, you'll find that all these movies that they show, these people are moving around and they've got to grab onto things. It's because the distance is so far from Earth that they feel that they can move in a vacuum. So it often happens in a lift. You feel like your stomach is going down, but you are going up. It also happens in planes and spacecrafts. So very far from the center of Earth will make you feel weightless. So before going on a diet, just go up to the moon and you won't feel your weight. Right, what did we learn? We have to be able to define Newton's law of universal gravitation. Let me quickly show you. The force will be proportional, directly proportional to the product of the two masses and inversely proportional to the square of the distance, not between them, but from the midpoints. Make sure, because you'll see in a calculation that we'll do, that you have to know it's from the midpoint. You have to be able to define weightlessness, describe the gravitational field, which is the force on a mass, and you'll have to be able to do the calculations. Remember G, you get it on your info sheet, and that you use the right and the correct units. I hope you enjoy gravity. Bye-bye.